We're going to focus, though, on this week in 2022. Brian May is reissuing his solo album, Another World, which originally came out in 1998. Featuring Cozy Powell on drums, Jeff Beck on guitar, and a host of other guest artists, it was Brian's second foray into a world without Queen. I spoke to Brian about the project earlier on this week.
Another World feels like a new album to me, completely. I've immersed myself in it for the past few weeks, and I feel like I'm there, really, and I feel like if I was making a completely new album right now, it would be very much this one, because it all seems still relevant to me. Yeah, I wasn't tempted to remix it. I just remastered it and repolished it, but I was tempted to go back and make that second CD, which we are daringly calling Another CD, of all the sort of outtakes and bits and pieces which didn't make it onto the album, plus a few other little nuggets from that period. So I'm excited, very excited. Yeah, this is a new project for me.
The thing that hits me straight away when I listen to the album is the enormous amount of energy.
There is an amazing amount of energy, yeah, and comes from various sources, I think. It's part of it comes from me because I'm struggling to get out of what is still a difficult place, having lost Freddie and kind of lost my sense of reality. But I had Cozy Powell in the studio for the first part of the album with his enormous input of energy and optimism and belief in me. Sadly, I didn't have him for the whole album because he died in a terrible crash on the motorway halfway through, which was devastating.
I've heard you talk about Cozy and more than just an amazing drummer. As an individual, he was quite special, wasn't he?
He really was. He had an incredible optimism about him, which is just what I need because I'm basically a pessimist, I think. But Cozy would always come into the studio if I was like uncertain of anything. I'd say, look, do you want to try these? Oh, yeah, I'll do it, Bri. That'll be amazing. I'll give it Hooligan. It'll be brilliant. We can do this, Bri. He is just always giving me energy, giving me confidence. So I love that guy, and it was awful to lose him. I've dedicated the album to him, as you probably know. Ironically, in the light of what's happening now and what just happened, Taylor Hawkins stepped in to do a track, the Cyborg track, and also gave me wonderful injection of energy, friendship, joy and light, and he's gone just recently, which is awful, and God, I wish I could have been there to get him through that, whatever it was. So a lot of sadness mixed with the joy in this album.
Taylor Hawkins, him doing that session for you was one of his first, wasn't it? Doing a session for someone else.
It was, yeah. He'd only just joined the Foo Fighters. He's just a boy, really, and he was the biggest Queen fan in the world, which took me by surprise. I think Taylor actually made Queen very cool to lots of people to whom we otherwise wouldn't have been cool, bless him. And he was encyclopedic about Queen, absolutely incredible. Knew everything that we'd ever done, was very, again, supportive. And he became like a brother. He really did. He was family to us, was Taylor, bless him. He will be very, very sadly missed.
Another big name, fortunately still with us, is Ian Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they were good. They were pretty good to Queen in the early days, were they not, Mott the Hoople?
They really were. Yeah, we supported them. It was our only support slot on a major tour, and it took us right out into the world in a way we hadn't even imagined before, really. And we went on stage every night, opening up for Mott the Hoople. Just can be a tough spot if there's a very popular band, but the audiences were very kind to us, so it propelled us to a new place. And Mott themselves were very kind. They actually gave us sound checks and gave us enough time to do stuff, which not everybody does. People are not always considerate to people who support them on tour. And by example, they kind of made us rock stars. We absorbed their kind of living and breathing rock and roll.
So what was Ian's contribution on your album? You say guest raconteur on All the Way from Memphis.
Well, basically, I just stole a little piece of his live album with his voice on. That's what I did. But I phoned him up and said, do you mind if I do this? Sent him the track, and he loved it, which is great. The track is it's a little story in itself. It's like a little film. It was inspired by the fact that one of those dates that we did with them in the States was in Memphis, in an arena in Memphis, which was a riot, I got to tell you, both on stage and off stage. I've got fond memories of the Holiday Inn with all sorts of insane capers going on. They were very rock and roll, I got to tell you. But on stage, I wanted to see this thing of Mott the Hoople playing all the way from Memphis in Memphis. I thought there's got to be special chemistry there, and there was. It was extraordinary. It's probably worth noting that the original recorded version of All the Way from Memphis doesn't really do that. It's piano-based and quite light, fairly tame, compared with the avalanche that took place when they played that song live. So my version is a version of that. It's depicting that story of Mott the Hoople arriving at the gig, playing this song, and then driving away in the truck afterwards. And Ian's there, borrowed, making a comment before they leave the stage. So, I had a lot of fun with that, and I know Ian enjoyed it, and I wanted to pay tribute to him and to the band.
It's a great version of the song, and again, coming back, it's got great energy too. Really, really powerful.
Great.
In the show last week, we played something from the Freddie Mercury tribute show at Wembley, and we played you guesting with Def Leppard. And Joe Elliott introduced you as the man with the curly hair and the curly guitar lead. And just a sort of silly little guitar technical question. Do you prefer a proper plug-in lead rather than a radio box thing on your guitar strap?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to convert from the curly lead to analog radio link, but we made it sound right. And then just recently we've had to convert to digital, which is a bit traumatic, and I wasn't keen again, but I have this wonderful guy called Nigel Knight in my team, and he's managed to make this digital system sound, I think, even better than the analog link, and probably better than the curly lead, because I can turn it up a bit. I can turn it up to about 11.5, and it gives me a little bit more sustain. So I'm a convert. I probably couldn't go back to the curly lead now.
No, plus you've got the freedom it gives.
Oh, yeah, enormously. Yeah, so different.
Well, congratulations on Another World Revisited. It's a great album. And
thank you, Johnny.
We're gonna thank you for your time, Brian. We're gonna play On the Way Up. Anything you'd like to say by way of introduction?
Yeah, this is the last thing you would expect Brian May to be playing, because it's uncharacteristically optimistic, but I love it. It makes me smile. It was written for a TV series about a character who was an eternal optimist, and I like to think that this is the way Brian May can be.
Glass half full in future, Brian, if you don't mind.
Yes, definitely, yeah. And it's great to talk to you, Johnny, always.
Thank you, Brian. All the best to you.